100% does not exist.
It doesn't exist.
All right, fireside chat with Uncle Joe. I'm here with my guy T Sink. And we're going to talk about the 100% fallacy, because as he recruits agents, a lot of agents are like, I'm cool, man. I just want to keep 100%. To which, whenever you tell me that, I always say, like, yeah, there's no such thing. Nobody keeps 100%. So I just want to talk about some of the principles behind it. Every business has a cost of doing business. So dentists would probably say they don't have any partners. They keep 100% of their money. But we know they have front desk people, billing individuals. Your wife is a dental hygienist,
dental assistants.
Right. So everyone, when you pay your dentist $250 to drill a cavity, that $250 gets divided up among everyone in the office. Like you could say, no, the dentist kept that $250. He pays them out of another $250. Whatever you say, the reality is every dollar you pay your dentist or your insurance company pays your dentist, it gets divided up among the individuals that made it happen. So real estate agents are obsessed with keeping 100% of their commission, but they're not really keeping 100% of their commission. So some of the things we know, there is a cost of generation of leads. So if you are buying pizza and taking it to a PTO event in an attempt to get teachers to use you as their realtor, the cost of that pizza costs something. So whatever deal you do from that endeavor, it's 100% minus the cost of the pizza, right? If you're paying Zillow or Realtor.com, they have a 5% conversion rate published. Yeah, I think it's actually like 3. We'll say 5 for the sake of argument. Each Zillow lead costs about $250. So that means you have to generate 20 to close 1 at a cost of about $5,000 to generate 20 Zillow leads to get 1 closing. So if you then close a Zillow lead and say, I'm keeping 100% of that Zillow lead, you are lying to yourself, because it costs you $5,000 to create that $10,000 commission. So now what's your split with Zillow? 50-50. Because it's not like you close 100% of the leads you get from Zillow. The other thing I would say is some people pay for transaction management. Some people manage their files themselves. So of the agents you talk to, what percentage of them manage their own files versus hire someone to do it?
I would say 9 out of 10 are trying to pay somebody else to manage their file.
Okay.
I'd say over 90% want to pay somebody else to manage their file.
So that has a cost of anywhere from $400 to $500
Right.
per transaction. Right. Some people can do it cheaper, but quality transaction managers, $300 to $500. So if we say $400, then your $10,000 commission becomes a 96% when you factor in the cost of a TC. If it's a Zillow lead, you're paying Zillow 50% when you average out the closing ratios. So now you're at like 43%, 44% take home of your 100% commission. Now you can brag to your buddies that you keep 100% because technically the check comes to you, but then what you do with that check it becomes evident. I think I learned a lot when we were running Love Local Real Estate. We would have agents that ran their own teams. We would have agents that were on splits with us that we were doing everything for them, but then they kept all their money at the end. The 1099s would be very telling, because we would have agents on our team, meaning we manage their files, we generate leads for them, we give them client closing gifts, we do all that, we pay for their business cards. So literally the agents on our team had no cost of doing business. And the other agent was a team leader that not only did they have to pay for all their marketing and advertising, they had to hire a TC, they had like W-2'd employees. The 1099s of the two individuals would look very, very similar, meaning the amount of dollars the company paid the individual. This team leader would say, I would never be on a split with a company because I want to keep 100% of my commission. But I know that that team leader had anywhere from 30 to 50% cost of doing business. This agent on our team kept everything that they got because we paid for everything for them. Their 1099s would be very similar, but in my mind, I would have to at least subtract 30% from the team leaders'
Right.
1099 because I know they have at least a 30% cost of doing business. So I think more than anything, I just wanted to sit down and spitball a little bit. 100% does not exist.
It doesn't exist.
The only way it exists, and here's the last thing I'll toss at you. The only way 100% exists is if you're on 100% split with your brokerage, you collect a transaction fee that pays for the transaction manager. And you generate, and that lead, or the person buying the house was like your mom, and you didn't even have to take her out to dinner as an appreciation, right? Then in some instances, you could say that that one solo transaction was 100%. I don't know anyone that has enough sphere of influence business that feeds their entire business. Everyone buys leads in one way or another. So the last thing I'll throw at you is some agents want to manage their own files because they're so obsessed with 100%. And we were running the numbers. I think the time it takes to create a transaction versus the time it takes to manage a transaction, the creation of the transaction is no more than 25% of the time. The management of the file is about 75%. So if somebody said, I keep 100%, and you say, well, don't you pay a TC? And they say, well, no, I manage my own files. What they're doing is they're running two companies. They're running a lead generation and conversion company, and they're running a transaction management and closing company. Well, if 75% of the time was spent closing out the transaction and managing the file, where 25% of the time was spent creating the transaction and showing homes and writing contracts, then they have to take their commission at the end of the day. A $10,000 commission, 25% of the time was spent showing properties and writing contracts, so you'd allocate $2,500 to that. 75% of the time was spent managing the file. What you're doing is you have a $7,500 transaction management company. The only exception to that rule is if somebody just doesn't have enough time or doesn't have enough business that their time is valuable. For that person, I feel sorry. Because the most valuable asset I have is my time. And so that is why I'm happy to pay a transaction management agent. I'm actually happy to pay showing agents to show the leads that I generate because my time has a certain value to it. So even the time spent showing properties and writing contracts is something that I delegate to a showing agent or to a buyer's agent. And so more than anything, young Taylor fireside chat. There is no such thing as 100% because there always is a cost of doing business. Dentists don't keep 100%. Lawyers don't keep 100%. And I lump us in with that. Realtors don't keep 100%. So then the question becomes, are you better off to pieces, parts your business, running it yourself? Or are you better off to partner with a company like ours where we're very, very good at building the ancillary pieces people need in their business to maximize the dollar that they receive? It's always exciting for me. We hire a lot of brand new agents, and within the first 6 months, agents need to go to the orientation at the Board of Realtors. And so their first year CE classes are always these mega events. And the instructor, it never fails, will say to everyone in the room, how many of you have closed your first transaction? Less than 50% of the agents will raise their hand. And he'll say, well, keep your hands up. How many of you have done at least 5 transactions? And then at that point, there's like 3 agents that have their hands up. How many of you have closed more than 10 transactions? And our agents are always the last ones with their hands up. Then the fun happens. The guy sitting next to our agent, they will sit down and the agent sitting next to our agent will go, you've closed more than 10 transactions? That's crazy. Where are you at? Oh, I'm over at Real Broker. I work with the guys at the Real Vegas Agents and Joe Taylor Group, whatever it is. And they'll say, wow, what's your split? And they'll go, well, it depends. You know, we're 80-20 on our SOI, 50-50 on the leads we get. And then that agent who didn't even raise their hand the first time or put it down after the one transaction conversation would say, oh, I would never do that. I'm at 100%. So then our agent sits down and goes, I took home like $100,000 this year. This guy closed one deal that he kept 100%. So maybe he took home a $10,000 check and then divided it up in the cost of doing his business. And it's tragic because there's not enough people like me speaking out and going like, hey guys, 100% just doesn't even exist. And so you're much better off to partner with a company like ours. We very much take the Costco approach. Like we buy in bulk. We manage a lot of files. We generate a lot of leads. So the cost for the agent, they benefit from our bulk discount because of what we do. So next time, Fireside Chat Taylor, Next time somebody says to you, I keep 100% of my commission, you can, with confidence, say, you're lying to yourself, because that just doesn't exist.
The more you know.